So welcome to Iceland, and today we're going to have a chat with the Lawspeaker of the Ásatrú community here in Reykjavik and Iceland. His name is Óttar, and the Lawspeaker is more like the what would be the English name for that?
Just a chairman of the board.
Chairman of the board. Okay, chairman of the board. So it doesn't have a religious purpose, but basically to keep the job together.
Keep the society going.
Sorry?
Keep the. It's my task to keep the society going.
Yes, perfect. So, Óttar, what is Ásatrú? Very general question.
Yes, very and quite broad.
Yes.
Look, it is the original religion of the Nordic people, meaning we have to differentiate between the Nordic countries and the Nordic people, because three nations in the Nordic family are not Nordic at all. That is the Greenlanders and the Sami people and the Finns. But they're not related to us, but they're our close friends. That's another thing. So I'm not saying they're less worth than we are. But the Nordic nations are the Icelanders, the Faroese, the Norwegians, and the Swedes and the Danes. And we all had this religion based on Nordic mythology. Until all these countries were Christianized between the year about 900 until 1200 or so. I think the Danes were the first to take up Christianity, and the Swedes were the most resistant. They were the last.
Okay.
And in Iceland, it is probably famous. It happened in the year 1000, when a predecessor of mine, if I may say so, Lögréttumaður in our parliament, in the year 1000, decided after he had given it a great deal of thought over a whole night. I think he put a hide over him, according to the legend, and thought it thoroughly through. And his conclusion was, we have to have one costume in the country. So from now on, it will be Christianity. But people were still allowed to have their old faith privately.
Yeah, as long as you were not public about it, if you could worship the old gods in secrecy.
Exactly, I think that was his point. Yes.
The reason was, of course, pressure by the Norwegian king at the time. He wanted Iceland to be Christianized, and he basically threatened to attack us if we didn't. And so there was a big debate, right? It was 50-50 in the parliament, or Alþingi, if we should do it or not.
Yes, I think one of the most important arguments was that we would be a pariah in our part of the world. Nobody would trade with us. Nobody would have anything to do with us. They would probably fight us with weapons. And I actually kind of like a hypothesis of one of my heathen friends in Denmark. He's actually a Frenchman, but he said, I think it's more like why did they raid the monasteries in England? Because they were fed up of their behavior against us heathens.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just a defensive measure by the Vikings.
Yes.
Yes.
Anyway, it was. I think people find it quite remarkable, and I myself never fully understood it, that eating horses was not banned in Iceland, and I still, with great pleasure, eat horse meat regularly. And another thing that amazes me is that in Iceland, the names of the days of the week were changed.
Yes.
I looked into it some years ago, and I found out it happened already in the year 1107.
Okay.
So today we don't have a Thursday, we have the 5th day of the week. That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yes. So for our English-speaking friends, so in Iceland we have Tuesday is þriðjudagur, third day. Wednesday is miðvikudagur, or middle of the weekday. Thursday is the 5th day, fimmtudagur. And finally we have föstudagur.
That's the worst one.
Yes. And
the fasting day.
Fasting day, and then we have Lögréttumaður, which is basically when you should go to pool and clean yourselves after the week. And finally Sunday, sunnudagur. So that's the same. Mánudagur, Sunday and mánudagur, Sunday and Monday is the same in Icelandic.
Saturday, Sunday, and Monday are original.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Saturday, Lögréttumaður is hot spring pool day here in Iceland. So that's not the same as in English, which is basically Saturnus, Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
But so why Ásatrú? This started again in I believe 1972. We started to they started to make this community of based on the old faith. Do you know what was the reason why then, and what was the catalyst for that?
Well, it's kind of a long story. There were a couple of strange men in Iceland that had taken interest in Norse mythology and wanted to have it as their official religion. So they established a society with, I think there were 12 in the beginning, 12 people. And then it grew, no, I was going to say rapidly, but that would not be quite right. But in any case, yes, this happened at the first day of summer in Iceland, which is a traditional holiday in Iceland, and the only one that has nothing to do with Christianity.
Yeah, that's a good point for our English-speaking friends, that we have a special holiday here in Iceland called the first day of summer, and that's based on way back. So we were celebrating that finally the summer here, and everybody should have a holiday.
Yes, it's usually around the 24th of April. It changes between years, but thereabout in the last part of April. That was the founding day, and then within less than a year, they applied for official recognition, and within less than a year, they got that. And there's a remarkable and funny story about that. Well, look, thunder and lightning are very, very scarce in Iceland. We don't have that often, probably because of the cold. Yeah. But this happened this very day when these two guys came out from the state ministry, I think, that there was a lightning that hit the Parliament House.
Okay.
Quite a good story that I can't remember it in detail, so I can't tell you more. But this is actually what happened.
But fitting that Thor, the thunder god, was putting blessing on the Ása faith community.
Yes, that's how we understand it.
Yes. How many are registered for the faith? So just a little bit of info. So the government pays a little bit of money for each person that's registered for each faith here in Iceland. So how many are registered right now to be a part of the Ása community?
Yes, the system in Iceland is that way, that every religious society that is officially recognized gets is financed by the state a certain amount for each member. So it's. I've also been a chairman of a similar society in Denmark. That was there. We had to claim our members once a year for their to pay to the society. It was much harder. It's much easier to do it up here because the state provides for us, and not only us, every society, and even they have expanded it to societies that are not based on religion but other what can we call it, moral
moral communities with non-faith groups.
What?
Non-faith groups, you know, like they're like Siðmennt is more like where they don't believe, but they wanna imply like honor and that you should be, of course, be a good member of society, but based on non-belief.
Yeah, right. So
the name for it in English, the Icelandic Ethical Humanist Association.
Yes, that's the point. A few organizations have been approved. They're all based on some ethics, non-religious ethic.
But how many are registered right now for the Faith of Asar? Do you know the exact number? I think it's around 5,000, right?
Yes. Well, I looked into that some years ago, and I found out that I already told you that originally there were 12 people. Yeah. In 1990, they were about 100. In 2005, it was about 1,000, and now we're around 6,000.
6,000, great.
Yeah, and growing rapidly, even though because of this corona crisis, we are not really doing anything, but we are still gaining members. There are several reasons for that, but I might add that probably, was it 3 years ago, we advanced from being the 5th biggest religious society in Iceland to the 4th. The biggest are, of course, the National Church that holds about. They are losing constantly. They are down to around 70% now.
200, something like that.
Yeah. Then comes the Catholic Church, which can be explained that we have very many immigrants from Poland who are Catholics, and from the Philippines who also are Catholics. But they are the Catholic Church in Iceland is a success, even though it was abolished in Iceland in the year 1550. But that's another story. But they're still here and having success. The second biggest society. Then comes two free churches that are on the same religious basis as the National Church. That's 4, isn't it? And then we come as number 5. And we are by far the biggest religious society of Iceland that is not Christian, okay, or Abrahamic. So I think the society after us is the 3rd, Free Church, and then comes I think a Buddhist society that has maybe 800 members, something like that. Mm-hmm. And by the way, there is another Ásatrú society in Iceland also, okay, headed by a former high chieftain of our own society that was, yeah, that's a long story that I won't come into, but there was some disagreements in our society in 2002, I think it was. Right. But then he established his own, but we are about 200 times as big as they are. They are about 30. And they are not our, let me stress that they are not our enemies, because, and this is important, we don't own our religion. We are just a gathering of people that want to keep it in high regard. But of course, anyone can do it without being a member with us and forming their own societies if they want to. But
the Ásatrú community, it's very open, right? You know, it's, you know, there are no strict rules. You can basically approach this faith like you want to approach it, and you can focus on certain things that others don't have to focus on. So you can basically approach it on your own will and how you wanna believe.
Yeah, each and every member can form his faith as he likes, within limits, of course. And of course, we mostly agree, but there can be points that we disagree, and disagreements are totally accepted in our ranks. Sometimes I'm asked, what do you require to let people in your Ásatrú society? What are the requirements? What are your demands? And I say, more or less the same as the national church. That is, nothing.
Yeah.
You just if you want to get in, you get in. That's it.
Yeah. So what are the books or what are the references that you have for the belief?
Our sources.
Yeah.
There are two giants in regard of sources. It is the two Eddas. The Elder Edda, which was written down in, what was it, in the 11th century probably?
Around 1200, I believe.
That's probably right. Yes, but nobody is completely sure about who wrote it, who the author is, or when. There are details in it that point to some Christian influence in some parts of it. So it is quite obvious that it has been written or made in the time that where Christianity was known in our part of the world. And then is the younger Edda, written by Snorri Sturluson, sometime in the early 13th century. He was killed in the year 1241. But that's very valuable source, but not as secure as the Elder Edda, because Snorri was a Christian. And he was living in a Christian society, so he probably had to be careful about what he said.
Yeah, so, had to be politically correct.
Exactly, politically correct as required at that time.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So it's the Elder Edda and Poetic Edda or Prose Edda.
Yeah, right. Prose Edda, Poetic Edda, no. How would that be? Well, elder and younger, yes. Poetic and prose, yes. Okay. And the younger Edda, written by Snorri, is he also writes a lot about poetry and old traditions in making poems.
Mm-hmm. And it was more like a teach. It was more like a how to make poems, the prose Edda, of course, how to make the old style of poems.
Yes, and how to understand, and he explained common metaphors in poetry, in ancient Nordic poetry.
Yeah, exactly. So what are the core principles? What's the I know it's one thing is about honor, about respect for our history. What more is it, like the foundation principles?
Well, if I start on a personal basis, sometimes I've been asked, why are you Asatru? And I always reply that I am of my origin Nordic. I'm a Nordic man, born in Iceland, lived in Iceland more than half of my life, but another half, more or less, I lived in Denmark for a quarter of a century. And by the way, I am 1/4 Danish, so it's more important for me to be Nordic than it is to be Icelandic. My nationality is secondary, in my view. What religion should I have? I couldn't cope with. I couldn't stand the Christianity. I mean, it's based on absurd thoughts. In my view, absurd thoughts from a desert far away. And so, what will I do? Of course, I take Ásatrú because that's in my view is an integral part of Nordic culture and history.
Okay.
And nobody minds, actually.
Of course. So you just it's more for the history of the Nordic countries that you adopted this belief or for this Ásatrú, right? You're a little bit frozen now, I think. Hopefully you'll be back with me soon.
Are we on?
Yeah.
Yes, I was talking about the weekdays. We can extend this area also to Germany, the Netherlands, and the British Isles in a way. There has been a great influence of Nordic culture, and it's closely related. Every Germanic nation is based on has the same, more or less the same heritage. That is, so I'm now including the Germans and the Dutch and the English that are well, basically. We can get into a long discussion about that, so I'll try to make it short. They were invaded in around the year 300 by the Anglos and Saxons and the Jutes, as commonly known, and then again in the in the 10th century, probably mostly by the Danes. So there is this influence all around this part of Europe. And
the first attack, of course.
They still have that. They still have the Nordic weekdays.
Yeah, they have many. There are many Nordic words and many Nordic influence. Of course, the first attack was in 793 in Lindisfarne, and they were, of course, prevalent there in Dublin and so many places, York, and so of course they are heavily influenced by the Nordic countries.
Yes, I think to keep it short, that the Norwegians, they were in the Scottish Isles and in Ireland and made small colonies. They established Dublin, for instance. But the Danes were more radical. They conquered England in
parts of it.
Parts of it, yes.
900, around 900.
And by the way, as I mentioned before, there had been relatives to the Danes in England before and had established themselves areas like Wessex and Sussex and Middlesex. This X in the end of the names is derived from the Saxons who conquered England in around the year 300 with the Anglos and the Jutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why English is closely related to Dutch, German, and the Nordic languages.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So, how do you worship? What's the I know there are several occasions where you have blót.
Yes.
So
our religious ceremonies are called blót. Blót in singular. Then we gather together. we don't always do it the same way, and I would say that the Danes do it somewhat differently than we usually do in Iceland. But if I try to keep it in general terms, then quite often we gather together in a circle. And yes, my description now would be more Danish than Icelandic. The circle is with a short ceremony is closed. Nobody is allowed to leave the circle while the under the ceremony. Then the Godi, who is the priest, so to speak, says some things. He recites maybe short parts of the Elder Edda or something, and we toast usually from a horn. Usually in the horn there can be mead. That is this honey. What's it called? Honey wine.
Wine or honey beer or.
Yeah. Or beer, or even just water. That's not that important.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes we make some offerings to our gods or to the deities of the earth, mm-hmm. by spilling some of our drinks, or even crushing an egg or something. That's different. And I will not deny that there can be an offering of an animal, but usually in modern times we don't do that. And I can say that I have been offered to participate in a float with animal offerings twice in my life, and I started in this in 1997, I think. Twice I have been offered it, yes. Once I just said no, I'm not interested. They were going to kill a chicken, and but the other one I did participate in, and the offering animal was a cod. That was quite remarkable. But okay. One very important point here: we don't kill animals. Usually, we don't do it at all. But if we do, we don't do it only for fun or for the gods. It's a prerequisite that we eat it afterwards. Hmm. So I did eat this some parts of this cod, and I'm sure that the before mentioned chicken was eaten after it was killed. But offering lives of animals is not necessary at all. And I would like to add that some people are very preoccupied with our ancestors offering humans in former times. Mm-hmm. I would say to people that believe that, okay, look at the sources again. Aren't they all written by Christian monks? They are. I will not go as far as claiming that this never ever happened, but I am absolutely confident that it was more seldom, more scarce than some of the sources claim. Mm-hmm. Because it is idiotic. I mean, these were sensible people, and they were no idiots. They were not killing people that could work, would they?
No. But you celebrate these floats at certain days, right? There are certain days that are more important for you than others.
Yes, roughly we adhere to the solar days. That is equinox. Is it equinox in the summer and in the winter? Mm-hmm. End of June and end of December, and then am I using the right word in English? And then when the day is just as long as the night, that is in March and in September.
Yeah, that's the equinoxes, the fall equinox and the spring equinox.
Yes, these 4 days. But besides that, we have, and that's a new custom in Iceland. We decided to have a float for five floats in every four corners of the country, and also in our parliament place, Þingvellir, about 50 kilometers from Reykjavik. 5 floats at the 1st of December, which is the day that Iceland got its independence. Even though we were under the Danish king from 1st of December 1918, Iceland was regarded as a sovereign nation. It's a misunderstanding that we only got our independence in 1944. That was when we cut the ties to the to the Danish king.
Yeah.
During the war, that I can argue, I will spare you for that, but some people say there was a nasty thing doing to our king, but I agree, but we had to do it. In 1944, the 17th of June.
Of course.
And that's been a republic since.
Yeah, and that just to clear that, so 1918, we got our sovereignty. Iceland we were a Danish colony for centuries, Norwegian and then Danish, and we were a Danish colony for centuries. So we got our sovereignty in 1918. So we were an independent nation, but still under the Danish king. So we were still.
The head of Iceland was the Danish king. He was also the Icelandic king. That's the way to put it.
And also, they ruled our foreign diplomacy, so we could control our internal affairs, but the Danes controlled external affairs like foreign diplomacy and stuff like that.
Yes.
And it wasn't until 1940.
But you have to bear in mind that it was a tiny nation. I can't remember, but probably we were only about 100,000 at the time.
Yeah. Of course, but we used so this agreement in 1918 when we got our sovereignty, 1st of December. We decided one of the parts of the agreement was that it would be revisited 25 years later, and approximately 25 years later, Second World War, Danes got occupied by Germany, and we kind of used the opportunity and saying goodbye to Denmark as our.
That's what I meant, Valur. What could we have done? And you have to bear in mind that in 1944, nobody could know for sure how all this horrible war how it would end. Would it end with Denmark still being occupied by Germany, and we had the Brits and the Americans here? So this was a dilemma. It had to be solved. So it was not to be unpolite or ungrateful to our king. It was a necessity. And as you mentioned, the agreement it ran out in 1943, a year before. So we had no agreement, and there was no contact between Iceland and Denmark. More or less, these were difficult times, and don't look at these times through the glasses of a modern man. These were quite different times.
Extreme. We got a question here from Portugal. How do you deal with the appropriation of the faith by nationalist and extremist right-wing groups? I know we have been distancing ourselves from that, and that's why we take many measures to distance ourselves from that. But what do you feel? What's your?
Yes, this is an anticipated and good and necessary question. In Iceland, I think the correct answer would be we don't, because we don't have this problem. We have seen 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe 5 people, a handful of people with these crazy ideas, but they're not bothering us. So that's about it. So I have sometimes I have explained my viewpoint on this with how would you feel if I was claiming all the time I'm not a pedophile? You know?
Yeah. That would be strange.
Not racist. Why should we be saying it all the time?
Yeah, but I think she's relating to more like, for example, in the U.S. there have been some right-wing groups, and they are wearing the signs of Odinn and taking some of the bloats and just mixing it up all together.
Yes, let me explain. And I know that I have American heathen friends and even more loads of German heathen friends, and this is very embarrassing for them, and they're very very cautious. But still, my viewpoint on that is it's best to just to ignore them. Sometimes you would have to explain. But let me give you an example. Some years ago, we got news about in the United States there was an inmate, a prisoner, or two of them actually. They came into a hefty argument about Ásatrú, and one of them killed the other. Then I say, well, that means that they are not Ásatrú. They have misunderstood all of it. Because it's impossible on the basis of Nordic mythology to kill someone you disagree with. It doesn't work that way. And if you don't understand that, you can't be you have misunderstood the fundamental concepts of the religion. And then I would like to add that in that context that I have often been asked by newcomers what books should I read, and I always give them the basic simple rule: don't read books about this topic from the United States. Find some European books, primarily Nordic, maybe Dutch, maybe English, German. My point is that probably 90% of the American books are crap, but only 10% of the European books. You get my point? So the safe way is stick to the European books. But it's important for me to stress that there are also good books from the States.
One also other question. They were asking here, one thing that I'm interested in is I see that the website is not in English, and he has a great question. Do you Ásatrúars do any other English language outreach? Are you doing anything like to reach out to other groups of Ásatrú around the world, or
you are referring to a question from Pronto, right?
Yeah.
Yes. That's a good question too. The thing is that, as we already talked about, we are in a way supported by the state. So the only way of joining our society is having it marked in the state registry of what's it called?
The National State Registry of Iceland.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And I know there may be several listeners that have never been to Iceland, that they don't know that there is a phenomena here in Iceland called kennitala. It's probably the same as a social security number in the States, but if you don't have a number like that in Iceland, you are nothing. You are practically non-existing. So we accept anyone, and let me just interject that this is not about foreigners or not foreigners. My vice chairman is a woman from Germany, and we have had some years ago there was a woman from the Czech Republic on the board, so that's quite all right, and we don't mind at all. That's just good. But you have to have this number to be able to register, which means that we just can't adapt or take in people that are not living in Iceland.
But do you do any like to get more to worship Ásatrú, like we have several chieftains from Iceland, like there are 11 chieftains of Ásatrú scattered around the country, around Iceland. Do they do any like go abroad to broaden the message, to tell other people about Ásatrú and try to get like society started in other countries or towns?
Yes and no. I have, and that's probably because of my past in my 25 years in Denmark, that I have a broad perspective of. I mean, I have really many foreign friends in this religion. Probably more than any other Icelander, and we even have held gatherings somewhere in Europe. The first international gatherings, it's called International Asatru Summer Camp. We did that the first time in Denmark 2009, then in Germany 2012, in Sweden 2015, and in Germany again 2018, and then. Accordingly, you may have calculated that we should be doing it again this year. But I'm still sad that I got the message yesterday that it's postponed till next year. But next year we will probably meet in Poland.
Okay. Is there a Polish community of Ásatrú?
Yes, there are quite few. I don't know how many, maybe 10, maybe 30, I don't know. But my international friends are from, apart from the Nordic countries, there is Germany, quite many. That's a huge nation anyway. Many Dutch, a few French, some Englishmen. Spanish, we've even had guests from Australia, and I know there are some Ásatrú in Brazil. So we are more or less all over the world. And let me say that even though this is in some people's eyes, this is linked to the earth and to the area. That's okay. You can think that, but and that's all right. But that doesn't mean that everyone isn't welcome. I mean, we are, after all, in spite of that, we are inclusive. And even though I find it hard to imagine how to be an Ásatrú in like Brazil, it's not my problem, is it? So I just welcome anyone.
Yeah.
But to return to English and foreigners, just to put an end to that, if someone from Belgium or New Guinea or whatever gets this number, moves to Iceland and gets this number, he will be able to register with us. No problem, and he will be. All of them will be welcomed. Okay. But even though, like for instance, Valerie, if you being an Icelander and you emigrate to another country, we could not have you. So again, it's not about nationality; it's about where you live.
Where you register to live. I'm actually a part of the community, of course, supporting the temple building. So that's actually exactly my next question. What's the news about the temple? What's happening? I know, of course, COVID played a huge hit on the economy and all of this, but what's new?
like we say in modern Iceland and modern Icelandic, everything is happening these days.
Just a precursor. So they are building a temple in a place called Öskjuhlíð,
yes.
which is close to where the Pearl is and where the Reykjavik and the Reykjavik Airport is. So
Reykjavik University.
Yeah. So but it's been going on for what, 6 years or what? How long since they?
Even more, I think.
Okay.
It has been, in a way, it's a sad story. We
let's not go into all the sadness, but
but it's also a classic story. People are optimistic, and we will do this in 2 years or 4 years or whatever. But there have been delays. Some of them because of authorities not doing their part of what is necessary, like getting water, getting electricity, and things like that, technical things. But mostly because we lack. It's a problem of finances. This is very expensive. Obviously, but these days, actually these very days, we are moving. We are leaving our premises in the eastern part of Reykjavik. They are, and that's what Valur and I we intended to meet there and do this there. But then when I went there yesterday, it was practically empty. There was only one table and a couple of chairs. So we decided to do it from our homes. Anyway,
we'll do the next version in the temple.
Let's hope that people are moving. We are we are moving our things, but things are happening also. We have made some preliminary roofs and walls so that we can use some parts of it, even though it's not. It's far from finished, and we will emphasize the social part of the building, not the dome, not the sacred part of it. That will be the last thing we do, and that would be far the most expensive, of course. Our high chieftain, he wishes to inaugurate it at the first day of summer that we already talked about in 2022. Personally, I think he's too optimistic, but let's see. I hope he gets his wish fulfilled.
Okay. So how are you? So of course you're paying for this by the money that the government pays for each person that registered for Ásatrú. But are you getting any support? I know there are some people that have been, giving a little bit of money to support this work.
We have had some financial support from private persons, yes, but that's very little. We have, well, like it often is in associations like that, matters are being discussed month after month. I hope that we are working on our site, our homepage these days.
Okay. Are you building a new homepage or?
A new homepage, yes, starting from scratch. What should I tell you? Let's say maybe within 2 months, and I strongly expect to have put in the opportunity, the possibility to transfer money to support the building from anywhere in the world. Basically, or mostly, we are financing the building ourselves, but any contribution would always be helpful, of course. But I have to admit, and regrettably I have to admit, that we have not made this easy for people.
Yeah, we'll have to work on that, because I think people all around the world would like to see this temple built. And I when I do my tours, I do like walking tours and experiences here in Reykjavik. People frequently ask me about the temple and what's the news about Ásatrú, and so because I talk about it on the tour, and I think you would get some support from people to finish this.
Let me add that the building site is in a beautiful place with trees and rabbits and a recreational area. There's a path close to the wharf that the people use much for cycling and running.
Mm-hmm.
So the site is more or less perfect. Very beautiful, and this will be just amazing.
Yeah, I lived close by for several years, and I was always jogging by and looking how getting a little bit frustrated how slowly it went to build, but that's another story.
Yes, but I do know that story from myself also.
Yeah.
I often thought, what is happening? Obviously nothing.
Yeah.
But anyway, things are moving now.
Okay.
We're getting somewhere.
And you're probably going to have some kind of ceremonies there, pretty soon.
There will be festivities. We do realize that this will be a world event. There will be news people from probably all over the world.
Yeah.
This is remarkable, and we know that this is awaited with great interest, more or less all over the world.
Yeah, this is of course the first temple built for Ásatrú, well, since the year 1000.
Yes, in a way. There was one temple in Reykjavik, close to the international airport and close to the famous Blue Lagoon, in the mid-90s, but this guy, he never finished it, I think. There was never any roof on it.
Okay.
And then now it is abandoned. And then one of our goddess, one of our chieftains, he built his own private hof in northern Iceland.
Okay.
He's a farmer and a carpenter, so it was easy for him.
Okay. Cool. Where's that located in Iceland, or in the north?
It's in Hjaltadalur, which is part of Skagafjörður. It's the middle of northern Iceland.
Okay.
And actually close to there were two sites of the church in the former days, Skálholt in the south and Hólar in the north. Hólar is close to this place.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know, 20 kilometers away or something like that. Okay. And then thirdly, there is a magnificent temple, hof in Denmark, in Funen, I think, built by what's it called? A strange man. Well, he goes his own ways.
Okay.
He's rich. He's a fairly young guy. He's probably late 40s or something.
What town did you say?
I don't think it is in a town, and I've never seen it, but I will next time I'll be able to travel in Denmark. Funen, it's in the middle of Denmark.
Okay, maybe you'll send me a link or something after, so I can share it with the people. I think they would find interesting to see. Do you have pictures of the new temple somewhere lying about?
I certainly hope we have pictures on our site, don't we?
I looked through it. I didn't see it in a instance, but I'm gonna check it out. But could you answer one thing? Sherry asks, will non-members be allowed to attend some ceremonies or visit the temple when it's finished?
Yes, yes and no. This is a problem. We would like to invite everyone, but that's not possible, obviously. So probably and we have not decided fully on this. Probably the inauguration itself will only be for members and perhaps some, can I say in English, dignitaries, some some high-ranked politicians or something like that, and probably we would invite the Bishop of Iceland or people like that. And let me interject here that we don't have any enemies.
Yeah, I know.
But there will be. We have been discussing loosely, without making any decisions, that this may be festivities for 9 days. So I certainly hope that everyone, also people coming to Iceland just because of that, or mainly because of that, can get their chance to attend to a ceremony in the newly built hub.
I know you've been doing like a little bit of outreach at your current location where you're moving out from. You've been doing some like introduction into Ásatrú and stuff where people who are not registered to the Ásatrú community can visit and get a sneak peek on what it's all about, right?
I hope I understand you correctly. We are. Yes, it's important. It's a good thing that you mentioned this, because we don't do any missionary work. That is against our religion. We don't bother people with our views. They are welcome if they find their way to us by themselves. They will be very welcome, but we will not drag them into our society. But that doesn't mean that it's a secret society. We are always willing to enlighten people if they ask us to tell them about our society and our religion. And I've done that countless times, mostly in Denmark, but regularly in Iceland also. But I would say that in Denmark there was quite another situation, because it was so new. I was in the starting phase of the society in Denmark, and we were in the spotlight for a couple of years, dragged to interviews in newspapers and magazines and radios and television all the time, which we always did willingly, of course. It's not that common in Iceland, because we're so well established. The people know we are there, and but still we are always willing.
But I know there have been like once a month where you could go to the office and get some introduction. Like, right, you didn't have to be a registered member to. I think you had a meeting once a month at least. It's on your. It's on your website about like an introduction for non-members where they can get.
That has been marked with some that has been irregular, I think.
Okay.
But in normal times, in non-COVID times, we always had the so-called open house every Saturday between 2 and 4, where people can come and go as they wished and ask us questions if they wanted to. But usually we were just talking about everything and anything, nothing, not necessarily religious matters. So that's one possibility. But this is a good point, Valur. Maybe we should do this more systematically. like the first Saturday of every month, there will be an introduction for newcomers or just people that are curious.
Yes, exactly. I think
And
that
I
would,
would say in that in that context that I meet people here in Iceland all the time that say the same. Oh, Ásatrú félagið. I always wanted to be a member, but I haven't gotten around to doing anything about it yet. There are thousands of people that want to be members, and they just have to do it.
yeah.
Which is easy. This is not a problem through the public registry. What did you call it, Valur?
Yeah, I think it's just one website, and you can change religion just like that, and no questions asked. We are very open about religion here in Iceland, so it's yeah.
Provided that you have the magic number, Kennedala, Social Security number.
Of course, you have to have the Icelandic Social Security number.
Yes.
I found a picture just on another website of the temple, the look of it, but I haven't. I couldn't find it on your website. I think it should be somewhere there in the front. Just
I think it's the what's it called? The background picture on our Facebook site.
Ah, okay. So it's on your
because I'm internal, so I don't need to look at this all the time. I don't need the sites. So I'm not following them every day. But I think there is at least one picture. But I would like to look into that and get some pictures published on the site. That would be relevant. And I know that this is what people are probably most interested in all our work.
Yeah, for sure. I think of course, it's an exciting time to have this grand temple. It looks beautiful, and I was just sharing the picture of it on our comment thread, so people can check it out.
Good.
I think Ottar, that we are just. This was a nice chat. I think I'm gonna visit you again, maybe when you have moved a little bit, when things when the dust has settled in the new temple. Maybe not before it will be ready, but still, maybe then you have some kind of a methods of people can.
It just comes to mind, Valur, that I might mention. I'm not insisting or encouraging people to do it, but if they like, they can. Because many people have done that. They come to Iceland to get married.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
By one of our chieftains. That's a possibility. So again.
So you take like yeah, of course. I forgot to mention that you do weddings and you do baptisms and in Ásatrú way.
Yeah, but it's mainly marriages, and they are legal.
Okay. Cool.
So there is a fee, but people are doing this a lot. Of course, maybe not right now, but I know that our chieftains are quite busy marrying foreigners coming to Iceland just for that purpose.
Oh, cool. So think about that. If you want to get married, then you contact the Ásatrú community for your chieftain to handle the ceremonies.
And by the way, I also would like to add same-sex marriage, no problem at all.
Cool. Yeah, we are very open about that also, and Ásatrú, of course, being a community where you just based on honor, respect, history. We are very open about
family values. In a way, a friend is a friend, and all that.
Yeah. So Ottar, thank you for the chat. Like I said, I would love to have a chat later when we have moved and when things are ready.
It has been a pleasure for me also. This is a topic that interests me, and I like to talk about it all the time.
Yeah, me too. I love history. We were chatting about half an hour before this broadcast. So yeah, it's easy to get lost in this to talk about this.
And one little thing, just as a funny detail for our listeners, as you can see, Valur and I, we are both members, and you can clearly see that beard and hair, much hair, is not required. When you like it.
This was uncalled for. So, takk fyrir spjallið. Thank you for the chat. I'll be. I'll be. Takk so much. Bless.
Bye.
Bye.